There's 10 pros and cons to shopping insurance online, and today we're going to dive into those and go over what are the pros to doing an online quote and purchasing insurance versus going through an agency or an independent agent that can shop multiple companies, but it's a person. The first pro to shopping and trying to get the cheapest quote online is that you have the convenience. You can do it anytime at any point that you want. Versus you going to an agency or an agent, they don't necessarily or usually have the ability to shop right on their system. Most of those independent companies don't necessarily let you go through an agency, or at least they can't afford to hire and pay for the services to run something like that. So you have the benefit and the convenience of going online to any carrier that you want. But that follows the first con, which is that you don't get the personal touch. When you go to a State Farm, when you go to an Allstate, when you go to an independent agent that shops 5, 6, 10 different companies at once, you're going to get somebody that usually wants to understand your situation. If they aren't, then it's not the right agent for you. You need to find an agent that's worth the time that get your business. So if they're willing to fight for the business and willing to work with you, you get that personal touch where you can bounce off ideas and questions versus going online. It's just whatever the default is set to. The second pro is time saving. It sort of, right? It depends on what website you're going to. If you go to one of those multi-websites where it does similar to what an independent agent can do and it shops multiple companies for you, then yes, you can shop a lot of things at once. The downfall of that, which is kind of the con, is you're going to have a lot of contacts. When you do those sites, they're selling your information to different companies. And often, more than not, you're going to get that independent agent anyways, but is it the type of independent agent you want to work with? You don't get to choose which agent that you're working with in that case. They just start calling you and you get 10, 15, 20 phone calls within about 5 minutes. Versus you can go direct to websites, but some of your larger companies do sell your information. You've got to read the fine print, which kind of eliminates that time-saving piece. Going online and be able to shop it right then and there, it does save time because it does also default your information. So it pulls your VIN, it pulls your license most of the time, and it'll even pull and just give you some coverage options, kind of a good, better, and best option, which is probably the con to that part because now you don't get to choose the right coverages, which kind of leads back to the advice piece. The third benefit or pro to shopping online is you get to compare options. You can compare one coverage set to the next or one company to the next. Again, that's if you shop with the multiple companies and you're willing to get the multiple phone calls, texts, or whatever the case is. And the fourth pro is that it actually can save you more money shopping online. For example, Progressive, I think they still do it, but they used to offer an extra 3 to 7% if you purchase the policy directly from them. Because what they're doing is they're saying, well, instead of us paying an agency or an agent, we'll give you a little extra back to do so. The only thing is in most states, going to an independent agent, it's technically a different way to purchase. And in most of my experiences, going directly to an independent agent will actually get you a better deal, even though you get that deal online. So you lose that 3 to 7% discount of buying it yourself, but in most cases that I've seen, you're going to get the better price going through the agent. Now keep in mind, this is assuming that you know all the coverages that you want, because if you don't know the coverages that you need to carry and cover, I'll actually link a video and that'll actually go through that, but you really should just go to an agent directly. They have the advice and are going to give you the points that say you should carry this or shouldn't carry this to kind of build a package that fits you. If you are shopping for insurance, I'll put a link in the description below where you can work with more of those independent agents. There are several companies that I personally work with, so those are some options for you below. The second or third con, the con for being me is, I don't remember what number we're on, but the second or third con is that you can have technical issues. And if you have technical issues, you've got nobody to help you. If the app's not working, if the website crashes, if your information's kind of locked up and you're like, oh my gosh, am I sharing my information online now? Like all of that pieces you don't have anyone directly to hold responsibility for. Going to any type of agency, whether it is a local State Farm or a Farmers or Allstate or the independent agent, they have a responsibility to hold your data secure. They actually carry their own insurance in case something happens, and they have what's called E&O, errors and omissions, which protects them if they make an error. It's fairly rare to have happen, but it is something that is a possibility for those that are worried about losing some of the data. The third con to getting the cheapest insurance online is that you do lose some of that interaction. And what I mean by interaction is you can fall into a trap from a lot of misleading information. I love to use ChatGPT sometimes, and I love to use AI, but when I ask it certain insurance questions, I find more often than not that it's wrong. It hasn't been calibrated for insurance, and I honestly don't think in the next several years that that's even a focus. So going to those systems or going to certain websites, some of the data is old. For example, I'm actually headquartered in Michigan. It's one of the states that we write. And the first thing I did when I started looking online is what are the coverages? The state minimums changed over 2.5 years ago. They still show, even on the state's website, there's certain pages, if you find them, that are showing the old coverages. So you could get misleading information. Obviously, an online site shouldn't allow you to purchase that policy, but if you do have the wrong information, you may be going down the wrong path. The fourth con is probably the most important piece of why you wouldn't want to shop online. It's limitation on the coverages that you get to choose. Yes, you can pick and choose the coverages that you want, but not until the very, very end. If you've seen some of my older videos, I did a lot of quotes one-on-one with different companies and showed you how they looked and how they felt. Well, what I find to be the most common issue is that even if you pick the best, the premium, the cream of the crop coverage, it's not even what our minimums are in our state. They offer what's called 100-300, which is okay for some people, and for most people, it might even be the go-to. But in a lot of cases, it's not enough based on where the industry has been headed. There's a lot of lawsuits happening. There's a lot of blame. There's a lot of issues. And so most people, especially if you have a lot of assets to protect and you just want to be protected correctly, that max cream of the crop online is just to give you a cheaper price. When you get to the end, yes, I can click edit and I can edit those pieces, but it's not just one thing. It's like 12 different pieces. It's bodily injury, it's property damage, it's uninsured bodily injury, uninsured property damage. If you're in Michigan, it's personal injury protection. Or if you're in another state, it's med pay. It's the comp deductible, the collision deductible, whether you have towing. I mean, we could go on, right? There's honestly a ton of things that those defaults, even at the best level, aren't going to give you that level of coverage that most people will want, mainly because they also focus more so on being competitive than giving you the coverage correctly. Now, I don't want to put the other companies down because when I say correctly, they don't know your situation. They're just letting you choose. And if you're anything like anyone or 90% of the people I talk to, nobody taught you insurance. That's probably why you're on my channel. Subscribe if you want to learn it, but we just don't understand it. Like, it took me years and years to figure this piece out to where I felt comfortable, where I knew exactly every little piece that had to be where for just about every scenario. What you'll find is your next best step is to find out which companies are the best fit for you. If you want to learn the cheapest car insurance, there's a video that I recently just did that goes over who has the cheapest insurances in the US. If you're still new to car insurance or you're not sure what coverages you have, go ahead and check my Car Insurance 101. That should help you out as far as learning and understanding the coverages that you should carry. Otherwise, I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.